Welcome to the deep dive. Today, you've sent us something really fascinating, a deep dive into decades of research in educational psychology, all focused on one core question. How can teachers really spark and, well, nurture creativity in their students?
hmm
Our mission here is basically to unpack the most insightful findings from this research and see how they might resonate with you, whether you're a teacher, a parent, or, just someone curious about where great ideas come from.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've got a rich history to explore and some very practical things teachers can actually do, so let's jump right in.
Absolutely. And it's quite a journey when you look back at how we even thought about creativity.
Right.
This research points out that for a long time, back in the 1800s, early 1900s, the prevailing idea was that creativity was basically tied to how smart you were.
Like IQ.
Pretty much, yeah. Mostly something you inherited and really only found in a select few sort of geniuses.
Mm.
Think of early researchers like Galton and Terman. But our understanding of intelligence itself evolved thanks to thinkers like Gardner, Guilford, Sternberg, and Thurston.
Ah, yeah. Multiple intelligences and all that.
Exactly. This led to a major shift, recognizing creativity as its own distinct ability. Related to intelligence, sure, but definitely not the same thing.
Okay, so it wasn't just about having a high IQ. The research mentions Getzels and Jackson, plus Hainsley and Reynolds and Wallach. What was the crucial insight from their work that really separated creativity from just being, brainy?
Well, what's really interesting is that their studies started showing that you could have people who aced intelligence tests but weren't particularly imaginative or inventive,
Huh.
and vice versa. Creativity began to be understood more as the knack for generating new ideas, tackling problems in fresh ways, and even as a key part of personal growth, what the research calls self-actualization, referencing Marland and Treffinger.
Self-actualization. Interesting.
Yeah, and this naturally led to a really big question.
Mm.
If creativity is a distinct skill, can we actually teach it? Can we help it grow?
Which brings us to the age-old debate. Nature versus nurture. Were you just born creative, or could you actually learn to think more creatively?
Exactly. And the overwhelming evidence from decades of research, from people like Hallman all the way through Torrance and Sachter, it strongly indicates that creative abilities can be developed.
Really? So it's not just fixed?
Not at all. While our genes might give us a starting point, the environment we're in and the culture around us, they have a huge impact on how our creativity blossoms. The research by Vernon, Torrance, and Woodman and Schoenfeld really underscores this.
So the big takeaway here is that we shouldn't just label some people as creative types and others as not. There's a real opportunity for educators and, well, parents too, I guess, to actively cultivate creativity in everyone.
Precisely.
And it sounds like this idea has actually shaped education in some interesting ways over the years. The research touches on some key historical moments.
It certainly has. If we connect this to the bigger picture of educational trends, we see several movements that, in their own way, kind of championed creative teaching. Think about the late 1950s, after Sputnik.
Ah, the space race.
Right. There was this national urgency to boost our standing in science and technology, and that naturally led to a focus on improving science, math, and even the creative arts in schools.
Makes sense.
The National Defense Education Act of 1958 was a direct result of this push for innovation. So yeah, a national focus on being cutting edge really fueled an interest in nurturing creative minds in the classroom.
Right, a space race mentality spilling over into education. And
Mhm.
then the research mentions the open classroom movement in the 1960s. What was the link there to fostering creative thinking?
Well, what's fascinating is that the open classroom movement was all about shaking up traditional teaching. It moved away from, rows of desks and just listening to lectures towards more active, hands-on, independent, and collaborative learning. The core idea was that by giving students more agency and freedom to explore, you'd naturally encourage more creative thought.
So let them loose a bit.
Kind of, yeah. Research at the time, like Horwitz's work, suggested that these approaches could indeed boost creativity and other positive psychological outcomes without actually hurting academic performance.
So the insight there is that a less rigid, more exploratory learning environment can be a fertile ground for creativity. Now, even in the more, let's say, traditional educational landscape of the 1970s, the research suggests creativity wasn't entirely forgotten, just perhaps channeled differently.
Precisely. While the widespread curriculum reforms of the 60s might have, cooled down a bit, the 1970s saw a significant rise in the gifted child movement.
Ah, programs for gifted kids.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Programs designed for these students often incorporated specific creative techniques and enrichment activities. A survey by Yarbrough and Johnson at the time highlighted a significant number of these specialized programs flourishing. So even if creative teaching wasn't maybe the norm in every single classroom, the idea of nurturing high-potential creative thinkers was definitely alive and kicking in specific educational niches.
It's like different pockets of emphasis within the broader education system. But then the research points to concerns in the 1980s about declining school performance. How did the focus on creativity shift within that context?
Yeah, this raises a crucial question about priorities in education, doesn't it?
Hmm.
The worry in the 80s, as highlighted by influential reports like A Nation at Risk, was that the focus on basic skills and rote memorization might be overshadowing the development of higher-level thinking skills.
Back to basics, they called it.
Right, and creativity was definitely part of that conversation about what was being missed. Researchers like Goodlad and Torrance pointed out that despite decades of research showing the importance of creativity, it wasn't really translating into widespread changes in everyday classroom practices.
So we knew it was important, but weren't doing much about it.
Pretty much. The insight here is that awareness of the importance of creativity doesn't automatically lead to its implementation in schools. It's a common problem, really.
It's like knowing you should eat your vegetables, but still reaching for the chips.
Exactly.
And the research suggests that the 1990s brought another shift in focus, this time with a greater emphasis on equity in education. How did that connect with creative teaching?
Well, what's really interesting is the argument that focusing on providing equal opportunities for all students, including those with diverse learning styles and needs, could actually be a powerful driver for integrating creative teaching methods more broadly.
How so?
Educators like Renzulli suggested that by questioning the exclusivity of, say, gifted programs, there was an opportunity to elevate the learning experience for all students.
Bring those techniques to everyone.
Right, incorporating the kinds of creative practices often found in gifted education into the regular curriculum. Treffinger echoed this, emphasizing the idea that creative potential resides in every student.
That's a powerful idea.
It is. The core insight here is that equity and creativity aren't mutually exclusive. In fact, they can be powerful allies.
So this historical overview really paints a picture of a growing understanding, maybe a growing appreciation for the importance of creativity in education, even though the specific ways it's been approached and emphasized have varied quite a bit over time.
Definitely. A bit of a roller coaster.
Now let's turn our attention to the individuals at the heart of making this happen, the teachers themselves. What characteristics tend to stand out in teachers who are particularly good at fostering creativity in their students?
This is a really key area. Initially, research on what made a good teacher in general and a creatively minded one in particular often looked at inherent personality traits.
Yeah.
Are they naturally patient or naturally enthusiastic?
Okay.
But the field has evolved to focus more on observable behaviors and their impact on students. Early work by Ryans, for example, highlighted the fundamental importance of positive relationships between teachers and students. Just good rapport.
That seems foundational for any good teaching, right?
Absolutely. And when you look specifically at teachers who are effective with gifted children, who are often seen as a proxy for those who nurture creativity, studies like Whitlock and Doucette's review found traits like enthusiasm for the subject, empathy for students, flexibility in their approach, openness to new ideas, and perhaps unsurprisingly, creativity and imagination in the teachers themselves.
That makes intuitive sense. You'd think a teacher who is creative would be better equipped to spark that in others.
You'd think so.
But the research also brings up an interesting point about whether teachers actually need to be highly creative themselves to foster it in their students. What's that about?
That's a really nuanced point. Some argued, like Gowan and Bruch, that, yeah, creative individuals naturally make creative teachers.
Okay.
But others, such as Fine, offered a fascinating counterargument that maybe highly creative individuals might be so engrossed in their own creative pursuits.
Like too busy being brilliant.
Kind of. That they might not have the time or focus to effectively nurture it in others. However, the research by Torrance and others suggests that a teacher's motivation and commitment to fostering creativity in their students might actually be more influential than their own inherent level of creative ability.
So the desire to do it matters more.
It seems so. And encouragingly, studies have shown that when teachers receive training in creative teaching methods, it can positively impact their attitudes towards student creativity and their actual classroom behaviors.
Okay, so training helps.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So the key insight here is that the desire and the know-how to nurture creativity might be more critical than the teacher being, a master artist themselves.
So it's less about being a Picasso in the classroom and more about having the right mindset and being equipped with effective strategies.
Exactly.
And that naturally leads us to the idea of teacher competencies. What specific skills or abilities do teachers need to develop to become better at fostering creativity?
Right. Competencies, as this research defines them, go beyond just personality traits. They integrate those characteristics with actual cognitive skills, and, importantly, these are things that can be learned and honed through training.
Okay, so teachable skills, like what?
Well, Hotz identified key competencies, such as creative thinking itself, the ability to generate novel ideas, strong problem-solving skills, the ability to use experiential or hands-on teaching methods.
Active learning stuff?
Yep. Viewing teaching itself as an art form, requiring innovation, engaging in reflective thinking about their practice, like constantly asking, is this working? And using research to inform their teaching decisions.
Makes sense.
The concept of the expert teacher also comes into play, emphasizing their ability to think on their feet, consider multiple perspectives, actively involve students in learning, use relevant content, and effectively frame problems for students.
But the research also raises a bit of a caution flag about this expert teacher model, doesn't it? The idea that too much specialization might actually unintentionally stifle student creativity?
Exactly. Welker raised a really important point. If teaching becomes too rigid, too focused on specific, narrowly defined expertise, it might inadvertently limit opportunities for students to explore their own ideas, ask unexpected questions, and take intellectual risks.
All the stuff creativity needs.
Precisely, all crucial elements of creative development. So, while deep content knowledge and effective teaching techniques are essential, the real trick for fostering creativity is being able to translate that expertise into a flexible and open learning environment that encourages student-driven exploration.
Okay, so we've looked at the mindset, the skills, and the potential pitfalls. Now let's get down to the practical stuff. What specific teacher behaviors have been shown to actually promote creativity in the classroom?
Yeah, let's get concrete.
The research breaks these down into molar behaviors, those more overarching approaches that shape the classroom atmosphere, and molecular behaviors, those specific day-to-day interactions and techniques. Let's start with molar.
Right, the big picture stuff. The research highlights 3 particularly influential models for creating a creative learning atmosphere. First, there's Torrance's incubation model.
Incubation, like hatching an egg.
Kind of. Think of it like deliberately planting seeds for creativity and then nurturing their growth through different stages. This model has 3 parts.
Okay.
First, heightening anticipation, where the goal is to really grab students' attention and spark their curiosity.
Get them hooked.
Exactly. Second, deepening expectations, where they become more deeply involved with the task and start to analyze the problem.
Getting serious.
And third, keeping it going, which focuses on encouraging persistence and helping students transfer their creative thinking beyond the immediate classroom assignment.
Taking it further.
Right. So the key insight here is the deliberate staging of learning to move from initial curiosity to sustained creative effort.
That sounds like a very intentional approach. Can you give us some concrete examples of what teachers might do in each of those stages based on the research?
Absolutely. In the heightening anticipation stage, a teacher might start with, say, a puzzling question that doesn't have an obvious answer.
Ooh, like a riddle.
Could be. Or present an ambiguous image or scenario, encourage students to look at things from completely different angles, or offer intriguing little clues related to the topic to pique their interest.
Gotcha. What about stage 2, deepening expectations?
Okay, so here, they might design activities that make students more aware of the nuances of a problem. Encourage them to build on their initial ideas and explore them in more detail, perhaps use mysteries or open-ended narratives to engage them, and really push them to think divergently and come up with lots of different possibilities.
Brainstorming territory.
Definitely part of it. Finally, in the keeping it going stage, teachers might encourage students to play with uncertainties and unanswered questions, become more aware of gaps in their own understanding, and seek out answers.
Embrace the confusion a bit.
Yeah, see it as a starting point. Challenge them to constructively critique and build upon each other's ideas, require experimentation and testing of ideas, and even encourage them to look at seemingly wild or fantastical ideas for potential real-world solutions and to think about future applications.
That's incredibly practical. It's not just about saying think outside the box, but actually providing a structured process to get there.
Exactly. a roadmap.
What's the second molar model the research emphasizes?
The second is Renzulli's enrichment triad model. This one also has 3 phases or types.
Okay, another triad, yeah.
Type I is all about general exploratory activities. Think of it as broadening students' horizons and helping them discover their passions
How?
through things like learning centers with diverse materials, field trips to expose them to new environments, and connecting with resources in the wider community, just opening doors.
Exploring possibilities. Okay. Type 2.
Type 2 focuses on group training activities.
Yeah.
These are designed to explicitly develop various thinking and feeling processes.
Like specific skills.
Exactly, like problem-solving techniques, critical thinking skills, divergent thinking exercises, how to form hypotheses, and the art of inquiry. This often draws on educational frameworks like Bloom's taxonomy.
Building the toolkit.
Precisely. And type 3 is where students take what they've learned and apply it to the investigation of real problems that genuinely interest them.
So putting it into practice on something meaningful.
Right. The core principle here is moving from broad exploration to targeted skill development and then to real-world application driven by student interest.
So it's about igniting passion, equipping students with the tools, and then letting them tackle meaningful challenges. That makes a lot of sense. And the third molar model.
That's Treffinger's creative productivity model. This one offers a 3-level approach.
Lels this time.
Yep. Level 1 focuses on explicitly teaching basic creative and critical thinking tools, things like brainstorming techniques, using checklists to generate ideas, and attribute listing. Very foundational.
Got it. Level 2.
Level 2 moves into practicing a more systematic approach to problem solving. This might involve using case studies, simulations, role-playing scenarios, and even imagining future scenarios.
Trying it out in safe contexts.
Exactly. And in this stage, the teacher's role shifts more towards being a facilitator who guides the process rather than directing it.
More guide on the side.
Right. And level 3 is about applying those honed problem-solving skills to tackle real-life problems and address needs within their community.
Making a real impact.
Hopefully. So the progression here is from learning the foundational techniques to applying a structured approach and finally to making a tangible impact on the world around them.
These molar behaviors really provide a blueprint for creating a classroom environment where creativity isn't just hoped for, but actively cultivated through thoughtful structures and activities.
Definitely.
Now, let's dive into the molecular behaviors, those specific day-to-day interactions and techniques that teachers can use. The little things.
Right, the micro-level stuff. These are the more immediate and observable things teachers do that signal a valuing of creativity. The research emphasizes that these behaviors often stem from a teacher's fundamental belief in the importance of creative thinking.
So it starts with attitude.
Pretty much. For example, Amabiel's work suggests creating a learning environment where students see learning as both important and enjoyable.
Fun matters.
It does, where their worth is affirmed, where they are actively involved in the learning process and feel a sense of ownership over their work.
Agency.
She also highlights the value of teachers acting as resources rather than just lecturers, fostering open and respectful communication, encouraging cooperative learning, and providing learning experiences that are relevant to students' lives.
Those sound like cornerstones of good teaching in general, but maybe with a specific intention to spark creative expression.
Exactly. It's about applying those good practices with a creative lens.
What other specific molecular behaviors does the research point to?
Well, Feldhusen and Treschinger recommend being very clear about the goals of fostering creative thinking and problem solving, like telling students, this is what we're trying to do here.
Be explicit.
Yeah. Also, piloting new teaching plans beforehand to anticipate challenges, actively creating a supportive and stimulating atmosphere for creative exploration, using a wide variety of instructional activities to cater to different learning styles.
You sit up?
Right. And regularly reflecting on and evaluating both their teaching methods and student learning outcomes in relation to creativity.
Checking in.
And interestingly, the research also includes valuable feedback directly from students in McGreevy's survey.
Oh yeah, what did the kids say?
They highlighted that they really appreciated teachers who didn't rely solely on lecturing, who incorporated interdisciplinary projects that connected different subjects.
Breaking down silos?
Yep. Who related learning to real-world events and issues, who paid attention to individual student interests, who asked open-ended questions that had multiple possible answers.
Not just one right answer.
Exactly. Who genuinely encouraged student questions, who allowed for independent study and exploration, and who actively helped students generate and develop their own ideas.
Yeah.
That's really insightful, isn't it? Hearing directly from the students what they find engaging and creativity sparking.
It really is powerful to hear what resonates with students themselves. And Torrance, you mentioned him earlier, a real pioneer in creativity research. He had some very specific advice on how to reward and encourage creative behavior in the classroom, didn't he?
He did. Torrance emphasized the importance of genuinely valuing and respecting unusual questions and imaginative ideas that students might put forth.
Don't shut down weird ideas.
Basically, yeah. He stressed the need to show students that their unique perspectives and contributions are valuable. He also suggested providing opportunities for practice and creative thinking skills on a regular basis, and crucially, tying evaluation not just to getting the right answer,
Right.
but to the process of exploration, the reasoning behind their ideas, and the potential consequences or implications of those ideas.
Focus on the process, not just the product.
Exactly.
Uh,
And Fredrickson, in his research, identified key themes like allowing sufficient incubation time, giving students the space to let ideas marinate and develop.
don't rush it.
Right. Consciously suspending judgment on initial ideas, actively encouraging imagination and playfulness in learning, demonstrating respect for all student ideas, teaching students how to analyze and combine existing elements in novel ways.
Building blocks.
Explicitly teaching underlying cognitive abilities related to creativity and providing ample opportunities for practice with constructive feedback in a supportive environment where making mistakes is seen as a learning opportunity rather than a failure.
It's okay to mess up.
It's essential, really.
These molecular behaviors really paint a picture of a dynamic and encouraging classroom where curiosity is celebrated, experimentation is the norm, and students feel psychologically safe to take risks with their thinking.
That's the goal, creating that safe space.
Now, the last major area this research covers is specific creative curriculum methods and programs. How do these fit into the overall goal of fostering creativity?
Well, these curriculum methods and programs provide a more structured framework and often a theoretical basis for many of the teacher behaviors we've been discussing. The research mentions that these can be categorized based on different theoretical models of creativity,
Okay.
looking at it through cognitive, emotional, or affective, social, biological, and even perceptual lenses.
Different ways of thinking about creativity.
Exactly. For example, if you look at creativity through a developmental lens, you see an emphasis on the importance of play and fantasy in early childhood education.
Makes sense for little kids.
Right. On the other hand, if you consider an information processing perspective, the focus shifts to teachers guiding students in how to analyze information effectively and develop strong problem-solving strategies.
More analytical.
Yeah. So different ways of understanding how creativity works lead to different approaches in the curriculum.
So, different theoretical viewpoints lead to different pedagogical strategies, and the research also highlights some domain-specific approaches, like using the arts to tap into what's sometimes called right-brain creativity, or specific methods designed for bilingual students that leverage their inherent cognitive flexibility.
Exactly. Techniques like Katena's imagery training, which helps students develop vivid mental images, and incorporating arts like music, drama, and visual arts are examples of domain-specific approaches aimed at nurturing different facets of creative expression.
Okay.
And for bilingual students, teachers might design activities that encourage them to playfully switch between languages, leveraging their unique linguistic skills to foster more flexible and creative thinking.
Interesting.
The research also lists a wide range of specific creativity techniques, from classic brainstorming sessions and role-playing exercises to more structured approaches like synectics, and points out that many of these techniques are rooted in particular theories about how creativity happens.
And finally, the research delves into more formalized, structured creativity programs that have been developed and evaluated. It mentions some of the foundational ones and then some more recent school-wide models. What are some of the key takeaways from this section on programs?
Well, this part of the research really underscores that teachers don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Good news for busy teachers.
Absolutely. There's a wealth of established resources and programs available to help them systematically foster creativity in their students. The Osborne Parnes Creative Problem-Solving Program is highlighted as a particularly well-established and widely used example with a strong track record.
Okay, Osborne Parnes.
Other effective programs like Covington's Productive Thinking Program and De Bono's Cognitive Research Stress Thinking Tools are also mentioned.
Those sound familiar.
They're pretty well known. And when we look at broader school-wide initiatives, models like Odyssey of the Mind, which encourages creative problem-solving through team-based challenges.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Right. And Ranzulli's school-wide enrichment model, which aims to infuse creative learning opportunities across the entire curriculum, provide frameworks for integrating creativity into the very fabric of the educational experience. So the key insight here is that there are tested and proven methods and programs that teachers can draw upon to enhance their efforts in nurturing student creativity.
So to bring all of this together, it seems clear that fostering creativity in students isn't some magical, elusive art. It's a multifaceted process grounded in research and best practices.
Definitely not magic. Hard work, maybe.
Right. It involves a teacher's underlying beliefs about creativity, the development of specific teaching skills, the conscious creation of a supportive and stimulating classroom environment, the deliberate use of particular instructional techniques, and even the thoughtful selection and implementation of curriculum and programs.
Absolutely. The research overwhelmingly suggests that while innate talent might play a small role, the real power lies in intentionally creating the right conditions for creativity to flourish.
It's about the environment.
Largely, yes. Teachers who prioritize building positive relationships with their students, who are open-minded, empathetic, and truly believe in the creative potential of every learner, they lay a vital foundation.
That belief seems crucial.
It really does. By understanding and applying structured models like Torrance's incubation model, Ranzulli's enrichment triad, or Treffinger's creative productivity model, they can provide a clear roadmap for encouraging creative thought processes.
The molar stuff?
Yeah. And on a day-to-day basis, those seemingly small molecular behaviors, the way teachers ask questions, respond to unconventional ideas, and cultivate a safe space for experimentation, are absolutely critical in nurturing those creative sparks.
The little things add up.
They really do.
Yeah.
Ultimately, as this research beautifully illustrates, creative teaching isn't just a collection of techniques, it's a comprehensive and evolving mindset.
Looking ahead, the research touches on some really important directions for future exploration. The ongoing commitment to equitable education shines a light on the crucial need for teachers to adapt their approaches to meet the diverse learning needs of all students.
That's huge.
Gaining a deeper understanding of how individual learning differences, things like learning styles, maybe cultural backgrounds, intersect with and influence creativity seems like a particularly vital area for future research and practice.
Yes, and the research also reminds us that the emotional and personal aspects of creative learning, things like fostering a sense of humor in the classroom, cultivating emotional awareness in students, and nurturing intrinsic motivation, often don't get the attention they deserve in educational settings.
To soft skills.
Yeah, they're pretty hard to teach sometimes. Further investigation into how teacher attitudes and the establishment of strong mentoring relationships can foster these often overlooked but crucial elements of creative development could yield incredibly valuable insights.
More focus on the affective domain.
Exactly.
This deep dive really underscores that nurturing creativity is not a static goal, but an active, intentional, and constantly evolving journey. It certainly makes you reflect on your own learning experiences, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely.
What specific elements in your own education either helped your creative potential thrive or perhaps inadvertently held it back? And how can we take these insights and consciously apply them to shape more creative and fulfilling learning and development opportunities for ourselves and for future generations?
Big questions.
Yeah, that's definitely a powerful takeaway. Thanks so much for navigating this fascinating research with me.
My pleasure. It was great diving in.